Alright, I'm gonna be real with you guys. Last year, as a Steph Curry fan, was not the most fun experience. At least the beginning of the year. You guys know how people always say Steph Curry is not a true point guard, and I understand what some people are trying to say, others are just trying to be disingenuous. But last year, if any year, you could really make that argument against Steph Curry. The first 3 months of the year, which was 30 games, he was averaging 4 assists per game. Someone considered one of the greatest point guards of all time, putting up 4 assists per game. And I know assists don't tell the full story, but when we are 30 games into the year and one of the greatest point guards of all time is averaging 4 assists, to me, you're not maximizing your team, which is why last year I made a video titled "The Warriors Are Chris Paul's Team." Probably my most disliked video because no one even watched the video, they just seen the title, disliked it, I understand. But they were playing like a Chris Paul team. He was dominating the ball, they were playing slow, they didn't really get out and run, and Steph Curry was putting up 4 assists per game. And to me, they were actually winning games, right? Chris Paul was playing good basketball, but it didn't really seem like a way to maximize what you can do. So when Steve Kerr announces the starting lineup, tells us he's gonna go big, a lot of people hated it and that lineup did not perform well in game 1. But the reason I like it is because it forces Steph Curry into the point guard role. First of all, if you don't like that lineup and your answer is start Draymond at the 5, well, clearly the Warriors aren't trying to do that. They don't want to tax Dre at the 5, so I'm guessing if that's not your solution would be substitute either Wiggins or Kaminga for another shooter. And if that's the case, it would have to be Kaminga, because even if you're bringing in Moody or Melton or Pods, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but those guys aren't better shooters than Andrew Wiggins. Even with a down year last year, if you look at the last 5 years as a Warrior, he's shooting 38% from 3. So I don't think people are reacting any different if that's Melton or if that's Moody. And Wiggins is the better defender, so the only move, if you're not willing to put Dre at the 5, is putting Kaminga on the bench for a Buddy Hield or a Pods or a Moody, whoever it might be. And thinking about it, Kaminga would probably thrive in that role. He could still be the second leading scorer coming off the bench. I just don't think we're gonna see that this early in the year. But Kaminga is in a very tough spot. When you have Draymond and Trace ends up getting a lot of those looks at the rim that Kaminga would get if Trace wasn't in the lineup. You know, a lot of those dump offs in the dunker spot, Trace is there, not Kaminga. So if you were asking me what do I do, I'd probably move Kaminga to the bench for Pods or Moody. That just gets tricky when you have a young guy playing for a contract. Also, you're the Warriors, you want to build up his trade value just in case you do trade him. So again, that is a tricky spot, but Steph Curry is in that point guard role to make it work. And again, everybody's talking about how Steph doesn't have space when really Kaminga's the one that doesn't have the space. But that's much less of a factor when Steph Curry actually has the ball and he's simplifying the game for you. And you're not trying to create one-on-one when Draymond's man's helping, when TJD's man's helping. So it might be a little choppy at first for Kaminga, but I think Steve Kerr should stick with this lineup for a little bit, see how it goes. And if Steph Curry is really embracing this I'm a point guard role, then I believe this lineup could work. But if you're trying to maximize what Kaminga does as a scorer, maybe it's not the best lineup. But is that your goal? That's what we thought the goal was before the year started, but maybe that's not the goal. I don't know what about Steve Kerr or Joe Lacob would give us this feeling, but it kind of felt like the Warriors this year would rather be a 42-win team but see Kaminga put up 22 points a game, right? It seemed like that was more their mission. It just seemed like with Clay gone, they didn't make the big moves this summer. It just felt like, okay, now it's really time to see what we have in Kaminga, what we have in Pods. But it's Steve Kerr. Why would we think that? They got Kyle Anderson, they got Melton. They're gonna play these older guys. So maybe they'd rather be a 50-win team and Kaminga puts up 14 points a game. Like, that's something I couldn't even have imagined. But after game 1, I could see that happening. A week ago, I couldn't have imagined a scenario where Kaminga only plays 25 minutes a night. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen, I'm not saying that's likely to happen, but after game 1, it wouldn't be that crazy if Kaminga only averaged 25 minutes a night this year. Again, way too far down the line, not trying to overreact too much, but it's something that jumped off the screen. Obviously, we'll learn more as this Warriors team plays tougher opponents. but it did stand out. Like, man, if you could trade some of these young guys for a star, and you still have Slow-Mo, and you still have Melton, and you still have Buddy Hield, and you still have Kevon Looney, like, they might really be one move away. But whether that move is keeping Kaminga or moving them, they need them to play better. I'm not predicting it, I'm just saying it's something that jumped off the screen watching the game. But back to Steph Curry, which was supposed to be the point of this video, kind of got off track. Steph Curry had 10 assists in game 1. All of last year, he only did that 4 times. If I had to venture a guess, I would say he does it at least 12 times this year. I'm not gonna get too greedy. We know he's gonna have those games where he gets hot and ends up with like 1 assist. It's gonna happen, right? And that's fine. But this team actually has people that can score. They just don't have people that can create. So like TJD can't really create, but if you feed him, he can get you 20 points in a game. Buddy Hield, same thing. If you're actively looking for him, he's gonna put up points. Guys like Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody kind of fall in the middle of that spectrum, but again, those are still guys that need a point guard getting them open. And if Steph Curry truly embraces that, to me, that's what takes this team to the next level, because they don't really have a roster built on let's get Steph Curry open. They do have some of those players, right? They have pods. Of course, they still have Draymond. They have Looney still. They have Kyle Anderson now. They have Melton, right? So they do have some connectors, but majority of those guys I just named will not be on the court at the same time. Draymond, Looney, Kyle Anderson will probably never share the court together. So for the most part, it is Steph Curry and a bunch of play finishers. And that's what I meant by it not being so fun to watch Steph Curry last year, because to me, it was obvious, right? He's sitting there waiting on Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kaminga to run a play for him, to set up a play for him. When I understand that you're the greatest shooter of all time, that seems like a no-brainer, but you're also one of the greatest point guards of all time, and maybe you should use your skill set to get easier looks for Wiggins and Kaminga than the other way around, right? Maybe that's actually the more important thing to do, because you're Steph Curry, you're still gonna get yours, defense still isn't gonna leave you, and you creating a play for Kaminga or Wiggins is much better than them creating a play for you. So I really hope we do get to see playmaker Steph all season long. I'm not gonna get my hopes up too much, because I've been talking about this for years at this point, but last year was the tipping point. A lot of young people watching basketball right now probably don't even remember the young Steph Curry that was averaging 8 assists per game, but that was the Steph Curry that became my favorite player in the NBA. Well, Kobe was still in the league at that time, but you know, once Kobe retired, Steph Curry became my favorite player because of that version of him. I know it sounds like, oh, it's nostalgia, but that year before he won MVP, I'd be an absolute fool to say, oh, that's the best Steph Curry. Of course, that's not the best Steph Curry, but that's my favorite version of Steph Curry. 24 points, 8.5 assists. I think that's what this version of the Warriors needs. Him putting up like 27 and 5 on this team, I just don't see how that's a better outcome for anybody involved. If Steph Curry still has to put up 27 a game on this team, that means Kaminga didn't step up, that means Wiggins no-showed, that means Paz didn't take a step, or Moody didn't take a step. There's so many weapons on this team. If he just embraces being a point guard again, they can flourish. But if the offense devolves into Steph Curry and Draymond Green play catch while everybody watches, it could get pretty ugly. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year. I didn't even want to talk about it before the year started because I sound like a broken record when it comes to Steph Curry. But there really used to be a time where people thought about Steph Curry as one of the best passers in the NBA. That really stopped after 2016, right? And hopefully the end of his career can really remind people of that aspect of his game. And it's also just a way for him to age gracefully. But you seen it last night, that role for him, he was amazing last night, but you could see at times it's not as natural as it used to be for him. And I make the comparison a lot to James Harden, right? Where he just at one point no longer took catch and shoot threes. And it's not like, oh, he forgot how to shoot. He just got very used to being able to catch the ball, dribble it 10 times and take a step back, to the point where he would pass up wide open catch and shoot threes. And Steph has gotten so used to running off ball, or I'm gonna give you the ball so I can get it back, or I'm gonna give you the ball so I can go screen for someone, then get it back. So much so that last night almost didn't feel natural at times, didn't look natural, looked like he was force feeding, assist hunting, which is cool. but I just hope he keeps doing it and it becomes more of a natural thing and he gets that balance back and he looks like my favorite version of Steph Curry, the one that can get you 25 and 8, like 24 and 8. If he puts up 24 and 8, to me that means the Warriors are having a great year. If he feels the need to be putting up 27 a game on this team, that means something went wrong in my opinion, but I'm just yapping at this point. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure you guys can hear it in my voice that I am extremely sick right now, so apologies for that. Hopefully we bounce back soon. First day of the NBA season, I'm sick. I know, terrible timing, but please drop a like, please comment, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.